Sound of Freedom is still currently in theaters as of August 2023, and this review will be spoiler free. However, is it still worth checking out despite all the controversy with the making of this film? My name is Chris, where I make fun reviews for movies and more, and today I'm going to share with you first a brief plot of the story and then give you my 10 reasons why I think you should check this out. But only one of the reasons truly matters, so stay to the end to find out. The story starts off in Honduras, where we see a loving father drop off his 2 young children to a modeling audition. The family knew about this audition from a young attractive woman who said the kids have talent. The father saw the woman and other children in the room before he left his kids with her, so he trusted the situation. Unfortunately, when he returned hours later to pick up his son and daughter, no one in that room was there to be found. The young woman deceived the father and kids into thinking she had good intentions, when really she works for the billion-dollar human trafficking industry, where they sell off kids for sexual acts and other services. So yeah, no lie, that's pretty much how this movie starts off. And once you see these kids, it really does break your heart right from the beginning, especially seeing the father's reaction. I do believe this was said about a decade ago, and I know that doesn't seem that long. And even though this was in Honduras, I don't feel like we could judge the parent, the father, 100% for this outcome, because I did think he used decent judgment as in trusting this woman, but unfortunately, you can't just trust anyone nowadays. I mean, once I give you these statistics on this industry, it's just growing scarier by the year. And the only way to slow this industry down, which is the modern day slave trade, is for people like Tim Ballard making heroic efforts to save these children, and for us as a community to be more active and involved. Tim Ballard is the main character in this true story with how he saved his brother and sister, and many others in a brave mission that seemed hopeless. He's one of the special agents in the United States Department of Homeland Security, and although he's arrested countless people who possess and distribute child pornography, one day his teammate asked him, "How many children have you actually saved?" He then came to the realization that his life purpose was meant for something more, which would require more of a dangerous act of service that only God could see through. And that's the main quote of this movie, is that God's children are not for sale. Once his life is intertwined with this father who's missing his 2 children, he'll do anything to get these kids back to their father. And one of the main reasoning is that he actually has a big family of his own with many children, so that's definitely a driving force for him. Alright, so now here's my 10 reasons why I think you should check this out, and in my opinion, they all matter, obviously, but only one definitely truly matters, and let me know your thoughts down below. This is in no particular order, but at number 1, I have the child actors' performances in this movie. These kids did such an amazing job in their roles to where I applaud them, not just for their performance, but for their bravery. To take on a serious task like this and portraying how this happens to kids like them every day was nothing but courageous, and all the emotions were there, so congrats to all of them for a great job. At number 2, it's also in regards to acting, but I have to give a shout out to the main lead actor who played Tim Ballard, and that's Jim Caviezel, because I'm not sure if you guys knew this, but he also played Jesus Christ back in the movie Passion of the Christ in 2004. I thought he did a great job of displaying a very serious yet calm demeanor throughout the film. However, I don't know if I heard this or read somewhere that he watched soft child pornography to prepare for the role, and I don't know if this is related to method acting, but I'm on the fence if I agree with this process. Because on one hand, it's true how the real life Tim Ballard had to do this for his job as shown in the movie, which is part of the investigation process, and then on the other hand, I can see how this would really get to the actor Jim to see how horrendous these acts are and put him in that character mindset of Tim Ballard and his quest to save these children. It's a very sensitive subject, and I don't know if his performance would have been better or worse if he prepared this way or not, but overall I think he did a great job. My number 3 reason to watch this movie was because the pacing was great and the script was very impressive, leaving you at the edge of your seat throughout the entirety of the movie, which is actually really hard to do in modern movies nowadays. My number 4 reason is that the tone of this movie is very realistic from start to finish, and it's way more of a drama than an action movie, unlike that movie Taken from Liam Neeson. Trust me, you're not going to see my guy Tim Ballard going in there guns blazing with fighting moves throughout the whole movie. The drama and emotions is high, and that's what increases the suspense without any unnecessary action scenes. My number 5 reason is also technical, but I did think the movie had decent lighting throughout and also cinematography despite the low budget provided for this movie. When you think of all the drama in preparing for this movie and the opportunities that they were lacking, I think at the end of the day when you watch this movie that they made the most of it, and it was actually very believable as a film. My number 6 reason may be a little controversial, but although this movie was made by a Christian production company, as you're watching this movie, in my opinion, I don't think that they heavily promoted any specific religion throughout the movie. You might think they're going to throw Christianity in your face for 2 hours straight, but they really don't. They mention a saint and God a few times, but the loud message promoted is all about faith, family, children, God in general, and overall good versus evil. They also didn't waste time on any politics, but more so getting to the root cause of these underground, illegal, human trafficking business and communities. Now, my number 7 reason actually goes back to the main quote, the main line from this movie, which I hope and pray we can all agree is that God's children are not for sale. I say most because you do have a few evil people in this world, whether rich or poor, that prey on these young children mainly for control, whether for sexual acts or free labor. In other words, slavery. So what this movie does is that it spreads awareness through the power of art and story. With the increase in promotion and success for this film, we are fighting back against modern day slavery and making a true difference in the world. It might seem like nothing by just buying a movie ticket, but really it's pushing the conversation forward, because apparently this conversation was extremely difficult to even get started, which leads me to my 8th reason. That being that this movie was actually made 5 years ago, and with the marketing and advertising was such a struggle for this production company. Meanwhile, you have all the marketing in the world for these other bigger movies. Hearing that just makes me frustrated, because if this was the actual movie quality that was made at that time 5 years ago, then I think it should have had the same budget and financial investments to promote this movie. The cause isn't just a good cause, but the only cause that matters, since children are our future. If over 1 million children are trafficked each year, then you can imagine the mental, physical, and emotional abuse this is causing for future generations. I'm not here to talk about the conspiracy to why this movie took 5 years to finally put out to the public, or why the mass media is not proudly promoting people to watch this movie, but anyone with common sense should know something ain't right and going on at a bigger level, because it's obvious someone does not want this issue to be heavily promoted or corrected. With now transitions to my 9th reason, which is actually very alarming, because these statistics are ridiculous. This is a true story, and not sure if you knew this, but human trafficking is the 2nd largest criminal trade in the world after arms, with this also being the fastest illicit trade in the world, generating over $150 billion in profit every year. 27% of trafficking victims are children, and what's heartbreaking is that they end up growing up in this life and conditionally programmed to most likely continue for the remainder of their lives, or having no choice due to them being threatened if they choose otherwise. There's a line in this movie stating that you could sell a bag of cocaine 1 time a day, but a child you could sell 5 to 10 times a day. They even show real footage at the beginning of this movie revealing the horrible people stealing these kids in broad daylight. Now, my last reason actually during the end of this movie while watching the final credits. The main actor gives a wonderful speech about how we can all make a difference, and for this example they use a proceeds pay it forward contribution feature where you can scan a QR code on the screen, which then allows you to buy movie tickets for future movie promotions, whether if it's for people who can't afford to see or more marketing and theater selections for the movie. I ended up buying 3 of these movie tickets because once you scan the QR code, they make it so convenient with Apple Pay, for example. So at 3 tickets, I think they're about $15 each. And I highly suggest doing this because it's so convenient. Even if you don't donate often, I mean, you're right there. And after watching this movie and realizing how serious this is, I definitely suggest making some type of donation. Okay, so those are my 10 reasons why I think you should check out this film, but only one of them, like I said, truly matters. They all matter, obviously, but the one that really stood out for me, which is the most common sense one in my opinion, was number 7. And this reason was all about spreading awareness and doing our part as a global community to reduce this horrible act of human behavior. I use the word reduce because us as humans, the most we could really do when you think about it is just simply reduce these negative criminal acts through the judicial system. The only way to stop this entirely for good is through God and the afterlife, something that these assholes are gonna have to deal with forever and for eternity. But in summary, I really enjoyed how this film didn't promote heavily on religion, but more so simplified the messaging of good versus evil. I also really enjoyed the authentic acting and drama over outrageous action scenes that we're used to watching. The production quality was overall really good, but the story and characters is what really makes you root for the main cause of the film, which always goes back to the main line, is that God's children are not for sale.
Why are you doing it? Because God's children are not for sale.
That line goes hard, from the delivery to the statement, the simple messaging, God's children are not for sale. And a hype rating for this channel simply means that it's a great movie, a 10 out of 10 in my opinion. I went into this movie not really knowing what to expect, and by the end of it, what makes a good movie or a good piece of art is all the emotions that you feel, right? So for me, there was times where I wanted to cry, sometimes I wanted to fight. Those are the emotions that really take you leaving the theater, not just wanting more, but wanting to make more of a difference. That's how powerful these emotions were from this movie, and I really hope that it continues to get the recognition it deserves. Not sure if my little YouTube channel is going to help in any way, but I hope if you're watching this that you do consider checking this out. I know for some people that this might be too sad of a subject, but this is the real world that we live in. So if anything, we could use this art to promote it loud and clear to fight against these cruel acts. The last thing I want to mention is that I'm recording this video super late in the game, so this review is very old. compared to the movie that just came out, although it is still in theaters. However, with so much success for this movie, I'm already hearing that they're coming out, or they're thinking about coming out with a sequel. Now listen, it's a great message. I absolutely love it. I fear for it. I feel horrible about it, but you got to be careful when it comes to greed, right? Although they're promoting a very healthy, positive, good message, God message, if they make this into like an MCU or like a Marvel franchise with sequel after sequel just because it's doing good at the box office, then that's where I'm not quite sure if I 100% agree with that, because I'm just all about not exploiting anything, right? Don't exploit your kids, don't exploit anything, right? So if they're going to keep promoting this for the sake of making a dollar, I don't know, I'm not quite sure, unless we know, kind of like our taxes, we don't know where our money's going for taxes, right? So unless we know where the money from this film is actually going for, such as my donation, right? I gave him $45. Now I hope and pray that that 45 is going to other people, like they say, to watch this movie and not just in their pockets, right? So let's hope that they actually use all the success from this movie to push it forward like they say they're going to do. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments if you found this review helpful, if you plan on checking out this movie, or if you already watched this movie, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, then consider clicking that like button. If you're new here, consider subscribing. This way you can stay updated with more fun reviews uploaded weekly. And thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I'll see you all on the next one. Peace.